Welcome to She's All Over the Place. Because of you, we're in the top 2% out of all known podcasts, and we are ranked out of the top 70 arts podcasts, number 20. So I am so excited. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a lovely guest for you today. It's actually his second time back on She's All Over the Place. Brian Skiba, how are you?
Great, great. How you doing, Katie? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, you are the first director that's been on the show twice. So I feel so blessed, and the listener tuning in is going to have a big treat today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me back. I appreciate that. It's an honor.
Yes, definitely. So I'll leave the link to the show from you being on the first time, which was a Lionsgate Presents Clear Cut over the summer with Clive Stanton and Alec Baldwin. And then at the end, I was like, oh, what do you have coming up next? And you're like, oh, Nicolas Cage and Heather Graham next coming up. And here we are again. It is 411 literally today. And I have a special treat for the guests because normally I release episodes on Tuesday, but this is literally 411. And the 411 is your new film, Gunslingers. So let's talk about Gunslingers. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, but first we're going to pivot because it's tradition. Where in the world are you today?
Los Angeles.
LA.
LA, sitting in my studio. So.
Yeah, nice studio. Cool. I'm in New York City. And then we chatted just a moment ago. So there was a screening for the film last night.
Yeah. We had a little private screening actually in Lionsgate's theater and at their offices there. So they have a screening room, and they were kind enough to let us use it for, just to screen to some close family and friends. And it was a great time. It was a great time. Everybody enjoyed it. And it's as a filmmaker, I think, as throughout your life, you have like these milestones that you try to, you're wanting to achieve. You're wanting to you want to, obviously everybody wants to make a studio film and that kind of thing. So to actually be in a studio's screening room, screening your film, and they have right as you walk in and huge, and a huge LED screen above your movie, Gunslingers, it definitely felt like, an arrival. It felt like it was like, wow, we're here,
Yeah, I'm welling up right now, and you deserve it. I mean, it is such an honor, like you said, with the screens and being at Lionsgate. So where is it located in LA, by the way?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica area. Now, you wrote, direct, produced, and edited this film.
Yeah. Well, we had an assist editor do the assembly cut, but yeah, I went in and definitely spent a lot of time on that edit, just sort of really polishing it up, getting it to where it is today, which I think it plays really well. A lot of action, a lot of suspense, some good drama.
Yeah, you love the action-packed films, definitely. I'm a fan, and so let's just dissect this going on. So, why make a Western film?
This one in particular, because I was asked to. I'd done Dead Man's Hand for Lionsgate, and they came back and said, "Hey, that was a success for us. Let's do another." And so we started brainstorming some ideas, going through themes for westerns, and I wanted to make it a traditional western. Dead Man's Hand had some elements to it that weren't so traditional, so I kind of wanted to go back to the western roots and really make something for the hardcore western fans, that this is their genre, and this is what they love. And so that's what we did. We kind of went back to the thematic elements and to be fair, it's like, there's I think sometimes people are, they try to they try to look at something and they go, well, it's not fresh and new. And it's like, well, no, it's an homage to something that, was done, in the 70s and 80s with Eastwood and Sergio Leone. And so that's what this film is. It's very much kind of an homage to those period films. We even gave it a different look color-wise and those kind of things. So
Oh, yeah, so cinematic. I love the opening in the early 1900s. Wow. Well, it's so cool. I'm like, oh wow, early New York, super neat. So, were you a fan of these kind of films, the westerns, or did you go and watch some of them just to kind of like get reacclimated with like the roots of westerns?
I mean, this specific style of Western, I was a fan of. As a kid growing up, my parents, we watched all the Eastwood Westerns. We watched a lot of the spaghetti Westerns. In the mornings, we would watch, there wasn't necessarily cartoons, I was still kind of broadcast TV when I was a kid. So you kind of got stuck watching these older black and white Westerns, Bonanza, those type of things. And so, yeah, I mean, I grew up just, really, into these types of films and TV shows. And so it wasn't hard to go, okay, I'm going to homage back to those type of films and
Mm.
TV shows and really, and so, yeah, I mean, I still sat down and watched my favorites just to kind of warm up Silverado and things like that. But it wasn't hard.
Okay, and then so when you were given the invitation to write this and you said yes, it was immediate yes because it's along your path. Um, from the process of let's develop something, let's write something. How long did it take you to write this project?
It actually took a little while. I was writing it as during Cold Deck. I had been. It was funny because I'd been contacted to direct Cold Deck, which is Clear Cut now. Clear Cut. I'd been contacted to direct that, and I was in the process of actually writing this script. And so I went to Canada, kept writing on this script, was sending it to Lionsgate and getting their notes and everything. So we were bouncing it around. And then I had to do the post on Clear Cut while I was writing. So it was about a year we spent on the script just because I got busy with another project. And then once that project was done and delivered, really focused on getting this one put together.
And then when you were writing it, did you have because Steven Dorff was in Clear Cut and now he's in your new film Gunslingers. Did you have him in mind? Did you have Heather Graham and Nicolas Cage in mind? Did you have certain actors in mind? Did they come with a package deal, or how was that for you with getting your top actors?
Yeah, for Dorff, yes, Stephen Dorff, because we were on Clear Cut together, and I actually told him, I was like, "Hey, man, I'm writing this really crazy Western. Would love for you to be in it." And he came to me and he's like, "I don't want to play a bad guy." He's like, if you're gonna cast me, I want to be the lead." And I was like, "I want you to be the lead." I'm like, "All right, be the lead." So it was great because I was able to actually, hear his voice as I'm writing, and picture him in the scenes. So that was really nice to know that we already had the lead, and Lionsgate approved him. So it was very easy to like get that put together. Heather and Nicholas came actually much later. They were actually initially Mel Gibson was supposed to be in the film, and we had to deal with them. Everything was done, and unfortunately, he had some surgery on his shoulder and couldn't do the film any longer. So I thought the film was going to die. Honestly, I was like, oh, I was like, all right, I need to look for another job. And I actually had picked up another Western called Guns of Redemption. And so I was like, I'm going to go do that. And our producing partner on it said, no, 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 I'm going to take the script to Nicolas Cage. I have a direct line to Nicolas Cage. And I said, all right, cool. You do that. I'm going to go do this other movie. Well, he calls me a week later and goes, Nicholas said, yes, he'll do it, but we have to have the movie made in 2 weeks. Or not made. We have to shoot him out in 2 weeks. Like we got to be ready to shoot, in 2 weeks. And I was like, we haven't even started prep, man. It was like, okay, let's get on an airplane and go to Kentucky and get started. And so, I mean, it was just like we didn't want to miss the opportunity of being able to work with Nick. So we got to Kentucky immediately and started doing prep, and then we had to cast Heather's role, and Heather came in actually 2 days, like literally 2 days before we started shooting, rolling cameras. We cast Heather, and Heather was like, "Okay, I'll be there," and she jumped a plane the very next day and flew out. So, unfortunately, not the way I wanted to make this film, not the way you should make films. Prep is key, and if there's any shortcomings, that's where it came from. So, so that's that. But sometimes when you get the call and you got a family, you go and make the money and do the job. And so I was very blessed to have the opportunity, and I think in the end we have a film that I'm proud and I stand behind. So.
Wonderful. I'm hearing so many different things. Like one, you had the support of Lionsgate to say, okay, yes, let's go. Because it's ultimately up to them, right? If they can make or break it to happen, because Nicolas Cage stepped in and said, let's go. Right. So
Right.
you had the tools and the team and the trust and the loyalty to be able to, the resources to make that happen, which is phenomenal. Because like Nicolas Cage is always like a win-win-win-win-win situation.
Yeah.
And I also hear the tonality of the power of the actor. In such a day of 2025, the collaboration where you're like on a project and he's like, hey, I don't want to play the bad guy. I want to play like a good guy. And then like he's, coming in as a creative and speaking his voice as an artist of what he needs and wants to express to gift his best performances, moving forward, not only for the role, but like for an overall career and image wise of how people in the world and how entertainment perceives us. And then Nicolas Cage, like, I mean, it could be like, we don't know, it's life. So he's like right there. Yes. If we can do it, cool. If not, it's a no. And it's like, it's the power of the artist. Right. And we so much talk about that in the days of today, because a lot of artists tune into the show and a lot of them feel like pawns or, like begging for an opportunity. But it's, hey, you meet the writer and director halfway or meet them where they're at. And you're like, these are my ideas. And it's okay to collaborate and share ideas and come from an abundant space. Not only having, the Academy Awards and the cloud and the resources of his reputation, but just as a human being. And it's refreshing to be able to collaborate that way to make a more authentic, meaningful film and project, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nick is very collaborative. I mean, it was amazing to work with him. I mean, the 2 weeks we had of prep, we were on the phone constantly, sending pictures, texting, just really working on his character, which, I find, he's great. He's hilarious. He really stands out, and he really brought a master class of how to create a character to our set, and so. It's one of those when just everything comes together, you got to go.
Yeah. The wardrobe, absolutely phenomenal. Like not only on Nicolas Cage, but on everyone, the costume set designer. I mean, the wardrobe, fantastic. And so I was wondering about his voice and the development of his character. Did you bring that to him? Did he bring that to you? How was that process when you're developing the voice for his character?
So it was actually the morning of we were going to shoot. He finally got on the wardrobe. He got the glasses. He had the hat on. He had everything, and we were sitting in his trailer and just talking, going over lines, and we were reading some lines together and stuff, and he looks at me, he goes, I just feel like this character has a different voice. And so he started pitching me all these kind of voices that he thought this character might have. And that's the one we kind of landed on. And we both, when he did it the first time, we both kind of looked at each other and we're like, yeah, that's the character, because his backstory, and we kind of talked to backstory at that point. We were like, okay, so this guy, he's been hung, he's been hung before, and that's why his voice is damaged. And, and, and he was saved while hanging, the tree branch broke and God saved him. And that's why he's turned to God. And Nick was like, I love it. That's it, And so, I mean, that's how it all came together. And so, yeah, I mean, I know there's been like this amazing like response to his character, and a lot of people are like, man, we want a movie just about Ben. And so you never know. I mean, I definitely have the backstory. I have the story laid out. So if Cage will do it, we might actually pull that off.
Word, word. Oh my gosh. I don't know if he still has a home in New Orleans, but maybe y'all can shoot it there. I don't know. Would that make sense to shoot it there if it was a spin-off of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'd like to keep it East Coast. I feel like, there's dusty westerns, which are the west, the Midwest of America, but I don't think there's enough East Coast westerns, and there was still lots of action that happened on the East Coast, in the late 1800s, early 1900s that we could tell stories about, and it's unique,
And people love period pieces. People love
Yeah.
period pieces. Oh, and I mean, we have to circle back around because you mentioned the glasses. Those are, again, to wardrobe. I mean, really, really great, really fun. Okay, so was Nicolas Cage in and out in 2 weeks? How many shoot days did he actually have?
Two
He had
days.
and then Heather Graham had 2 days as well. No, she came 2 days before.
No, she was there. Everybody was there. Okay, so day one was just Nick Cage. Day two was Cage, Dorff, and Heather all together. And so, but day one, it was just Nick. We just shot, and it was just shooting his stuff. It was just his coverage, his scenes. And then day two, we shot his scenes with Dorff and Heather, and then his night work, the gunfights at night. And that was it. I mean, it was very high energy, very intense, high energy. And thank God Nick is a team player. I mean, he just, instead of going back to the trailer, I mean, he wasn't a trailer camper. He would literally have his chair on set and be sitting there in character the whole time, ready to go. And it was, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, as a director to like, see that kind of commitment level from somebody that of his statures was astounding.
And I worked with Nick Cage on a film, The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, with Werner Herzog, and it was the biggest thing in the world because he really wanted to shoot the gun, like he really wanted to shoot the gun, and Werner didn't let him until like the very last week of shooting, and I'm in the scene with him when he shoots the gun, and so I can imagine him being on set the whole entire time and just loved working and with the guns. I mean, I can't. I mean, he's probably like a kid in a candy store because I know he has this affinity for like the guns and like shooting guns and in that whole realm.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, he was really into his character, and so his character didn't. His character didn't want to touch a gun because he knew what happens the minute he touches a gun. He becomes this crazy killer. I mean, he's a bad guy. I mean, in the movie, but he's trying to change, and that's the whole point of these stories. And so he doesn't want to touch the gun yet. And so Nick was very like, I'm not going to until the gunfight, and then he was really into it at that point. He loved it. So
I can only imagine like the relationship, of like that tempting thing you want to touch and then you can't touch. So switching gears, still on the shoot dates, like how many shoot dates did you have total?
I mean, we shot the principal cast out in 12 days. And then we went through and shot out the supporting cast in about 3 or 4 more days. And then we did a couple of days of stunts. So about 18 total.
Wow. I mean, you're just like a wizard. I mean, wow, that's amazing. Under 20 days. I mean, you really know how to, I want to say like under the gun, like, you know what I mean? Because, on the pun we just had, but that's wow. And then what did you shoot on?
We used the red Geminis with Orion anamorphic lenses. So.
Yeah, I keep hearing these anamorphic lenses a lot often. Are they like the go-to lens people are using nowadays?
I think they look amazing. The Orions look amazing. The Cooke anamorphics look amazing. It definitely gives you a filmic kind of look. The aspect ratio is a 2:40, which is real nice. And I mean, I think they're very filmic. And so if I can get my hands on them, that's what I prefer to use.
And then what was the budget for the film?
It was just over 6 million.
Wow, congratulations. And for like the filmmakers and artists out there who are creating and wanting to aspire to be like you and write and direct, and I hear through this the through line from earlier you were saying how like this is what you grew up on, so when it fell into your lap you were like a yes, so it's in the core principles of you as a creative artist. So um people like following, maybe checking in and following like what they're attuned to, like I love fashion, or like I like East Coast. But for you as a creative, and sometimes when you have a family and you're in it and you're doing it, we get separated from like the little boy Brian. But like what are some words of encouragement or actionable steps that you do, or things that you just don't do, to make sure you stay in your lane and stay focused, to just put your head down and actually do the work?
Um, it's funny because it's actually tough. Like, I was talking last night, when I gave the speech to the actors and the crew and everybody that was there last night, there are films that are, that seem to come easy, and then there's films where you go to a dark place, and that dark place, it's hard because, somebody like me who's, diagnosed dyslexic, diagnosed ADD, ADHD, since I've been a kid and struggled with those things. When you go to that dark place, it becomes very tough because you feel alone, and it's not an easy place to be as an artist. And I think there's a lot of artists that, end up checking out, and so when you go there, you have to find your safe places, and my safe place is writing. I find that even though I'm dyslexic, I find writing is where I go to, like, have this kind of safe place, and search for some peace. And so that's really kind of what I do. But and so yeah, I think that's kind of where I
Yeah.
am.
When you say writing, is it like pen paper writing, typewriting? Like, do you do voice memos for writing? What's your process with, writing with dyslexia and ADHD? Because I mean, there could be different forms of, how one writes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. You definitely, when I first started writing, in college, I have a crazy imagination, and so my professors in college were like, "You've got this crazy imagination. You should, write and direct and stuff." And it's what I always wanted to do. So, I started pursuing it, but I realized I'm not the world's strongest writer. I'm just not, and so it's taken a lot. I mean, and to sit down, it's very hard because when I sit down, I literally have to like shut off the whole outside world and not become distracted. I got to put the phone away. I got to, and it's like you have to create these boundaries as somebody with ADHD, and go, okay, I'm going to not, and if somebody walks in the room, one of my kids or my wife comes in, it's like it instantly disengages, and it takes it, and sometimes I can't even get back in. It's hard to get back into that thing where you're finally locked in, you're writing, and you're making progress. The dyslexia part of it, I've struggled with forever. I've had to have multiple editors go through my scripts before I'd send them out, because to me, I'd read them and it looked fine to me, but then it'd go out and it'd come back with notes of like, oh yeah, this, the grammar sucks, and I'd read it again and realize I wrote everything backwards, and so I didn't give up. I loved what I was doing. So I started talking to different editors. My wife came in a lot, and she edited for me a lot of the scripts, and would help me with that. And with the advent of AI, now it's definitely so much better. I can take my paragraph and go throw it into AI and say, hey, just check the grammar, and it's done in a second. And it's honestly been such a, I know a lot of people are, oh yeah, it's evil or whatever. They have these weird, and it's like it's a tool, and I think all tools can be used for good or bad. But I think with AI, in my case, I'm not asking AI to go steal Quentin Tarantino's work. I'm asking AI to look at my writing and fix my dyslexic, you know, the way I write, so it's not so dyslexic. And so it really helps. And so that's my process is find a quiet place, light a couple of candles, you know, and just go.
Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate everything you're saying and sharing. And when you were speaking, I was thinking of AI, and then you naturally brought it up. There are a lot of neurodivergent people, a lot of stuff happening, and so it's so important to talk about all these topics and how you keep going. And I see like having a family, like having a partnership, your wife keeps you really grounded, and you're able to vocalize and ask for help. That's so important, and like have team players, people who really believe in you to stay grounded and have a safe space, as you mentioned. And I love AI, and it's great AI, and for so many reasons. Like I get so overstimulated, like everyone on the social media, and it's like it's so overstimulating. But if I put something into the AI, it gives me like 1, 2, 3 best answers, and I don't have to search through all the links and all the confusion. Like when you go to like CVS and there's like 30 toothpaste. No, I just need one. I just need one toothpaste. I don't want like 30 options. It gets overwhelming, and it's like it's so confusing, right? We have like over 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and like you said, you have like all these crazy thoughts. It's so cool that you had a teacher at a very young age to say, "Hey, you have these crazy thoughts," and then embrace those instead of like scolding you, because a lot of people get scolded for being out of the box. And then you also had instructors. Where did you go to school?
In Arizona. I grew up in Arizona. And the first instruction, I was writing short stories a lot. And I started going I played football in high school, got hurt my first year of college, and was like, man, I want to go back to, as a kid, I made a lot of short films, and I was like, I think that's where I want to be, is in the film industry. So I went and I started taking a writing class at a community college, and then went from the community college to ASU, continued taking writing classes. And I didn't think film was necessarily very achievable, because my family wasn't in film, and it was and I was actually doing pre-law, because everybody in my family are lawyers. And I took an internship one summer and realized, man, I do not want to be a lawyer. This sucked. And so I was like, I took a screenwriting class at ASU. I was at Arizona State University, and from an instructor called Ron Carlson, and he was just like, man, your ideas, and he was the one that was like, your ideas are off the wall. You really need to go to film school. He's like, you're not in the right place. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting into USC or UCLA. I didn't have the grades. I was dyslexic with ADD. I mean, my grades were, C's and B's.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you don't have to go there. There's a film school here in town, Scottsdale Community College. He's like, go there. They have an actual film school with a film track. And so I went there, and sure enough, they did. And I did the writing track. They had multiple tracks. You could do production, you could do editing, you could do that. So I chose the writing track, and I took screenwriting for the next 2 years. Just all about screenwriting, all these classes about screenwriting, how to tell stories, everything like that. And
So you took the most challenging one.
yeah, for me, the most challenging one.
Yeah, and it shows your character. It's what you had, like maybe you thought it was your weakest link, and you wanted to be able to shape your crazy, quote unquote, crazy ideas. How come
Yeah, no,
you
it
go
was
ahead?
crazy. It was crazy because I actually, it's funny because when I took the SATs and the ACTs in school for college, I actually only missed one in math. I'm apparently a math whiz. I don't because of my ADD and stuff. I'm just very like, I had I had MIT and all these colleges contacting me, trying to get me to get in their math program, because I was a math genius, and I wanted to tell stories. And English was actually my lowest score, and so but it's where I wanted to be. So
Well, watch out, Goodwill Hunting.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be an interesting film for your journey. Following like a math class or math students or something, since you have that special kinship for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very neat. I mean, I just love how we just went all over the place and we chatted so much. I know you probably have like a really busy day and weekend. So what's coming up for you in the near future?
I'm finishing a horror film that I've been working on for 8 years.
Wow.
Finally getting that wrapped up. So hopefully by October-ish it'll be out. So that's and that one's a very like artsy grindhouse. Mainstream critics are gonna hate it, but it's artsy, it's fun, it's grindhouse, it's art, And sometimes I feel like these guys, if it's not Marvel and you didn't spend 300 million, they want to poo-poo on stuff. And it's like, guys, this is all art, man. At the end of the day, we're all creating art, and like your stuff, man. I mean, I love a lot of your like these short films that you're doing that are very artsy and fun, and I watch them and I'm like, this is cool. I mean, this is where this is like the heart of film, and this is what people, you know, um, like you and I are doing. We're taking the heart of film and applying it, and we don't need a gajillion dollars to do that. We just need our passion and a camera. And so that's what Deprivation is. It's a passion project. It's very much like grindhouse 70s kind of throwback. So
Oh, I love that. And for me, it's like it's all that matters. But I guess I'm just speaking for myself. But at the root of it, we're primal beings, And like you said, like everything you said, and like you just need the people who have a yes and attitude, who just they're like show up, yes, I'll be there. I just want to create, and that's where you get the crux of the true essence of the art. And I love that. So I'm excited for that journey for you. That's so cool. Very neat. Yeah, and I appreciate what you said. I have it makes me want to post more because I like really I have so many things that I haven't posted or some things that I don't post. And I think people get like that. They get in their head and they don't know like how much to post or when to post or what not to post. And, it's that we got to like not really listen to other people and just stay to the true core of ourselves, unless it's people like you and your teacher and people who are encouraging you to express and to share your art and to share your voice. And no matter what insecurities or struggles or setbacks we have, being able to acknowledge those, say what they are, but then have like good people in our energy system so we can just create. We're primal beings. And the whole thing is just like, connecting humanity and sharing stories. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah. I like your stuff. It's like visual poetry. So post more. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay, I guess we're gonna wrap up now. Lastly, real quick, did you shoot any of it in New York? Like, how did you get those New York scenes in there?
That's actually an AI shot, and it's
Okay,
it's the only AI shot in the whole movie.
the opening.
Yeah, but it's fun. That shot was the bane of this whole movie because it actually went through two visual effects houses, and the first visual effects house, no good. Second visual effects house didn't understand the scope, and so what they delivered to us, we were like, guys, this is not what we talked about. And they were like, oh, but what you talked about is, a $25,000 shot. We were like, no, we were pretty clear about what we wanted. And they were like, no, you weren't. And so we were just like, all right, AI. And we contacted this group that is developing their AI systems to do this for film. And so we got them to do it for us. And it definitely took a couple of weeks for them to get the AI to get it to where it's at. And it's still not perfect. Like if you really watch the shot close, you can see some striations in the buildings and stuff. And so I don't think AI is there yet. I feel like in 2 years or maybe even faster, maybe a year, but I think within the next year to 3 years, forget about it. Unfortunately, AI is going to take over visual effects and a lot of visual effects and that's just the way we're going. And I'm fine with it. But.
Yeah, me too. I love it. I love it. And for me, it was like magical because I'm in New York and I'm just like, oh, that's how New York was in the early 1900s. I was like a kid in a candy store. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Kentucky. So did you shoot in Kentucky the rest of the days? Where did you shoot the rest of the days? 18 days.
Yeah. Everything was Kentucky.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Very
We
cool.
shot Cave City, Kentucky, which is South Kentucky, just north of Nashville, about 45 minutes. So
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, 411 Gunslingers. It's in theaters. It's on streaming on demand, so people can tune in and check it out, and follow you on social media. And any last words before we round it out?
no, I mean, I really appreciate having me on. Thank you so much, and support of the movie and me and everything else.
Third time's a
Appreciate it.
charm. We'll have to have you on when your next one's coming out.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao. Bye.
Goodbye.